Right, welcome to today's Love Day session, 8 p.m. every Thursday. I appreciate you guys being here. This is a space where we're empowering you all to be relationship experts. I'm going to teach you guys as much as I can about so we can just keep spreading the love as much as we can. So a big welcome from me. A bit of background. So I have a master's in clinical behavioral psychology and I specialize in relationships. And I think a lot of relationships going well has to do with how skilled they are. And we don't really get taught this stuff in school. And unless we have super great parents that are great role models, we don't know how to learn this stuff until someone teaches us. So, and the media doesn't do the best job guiding us. So, this is a space for any of you at any point to ask any questions if you have any, share any stories that you would like to share. All you have to do is put your hand up, or if you're already a speaker, just go ahead and start speaking. And it's more than welcome. It's always a better space when people feel safe enough to share what they're experiencing or have a question, because we all learn so much from it and we can all definitely relate to it in a lot of different ways. So I'll give a moment to the floor in case anyone wants to put their hand up and has a question straight away or a story that happened in the last week that they want to share. This is a space, so feel free to put your hand up at any point at all. And yeah, we'll do a quick recap on the different skills we've learned over the last 9 weeks that we've done this, which is an awesome milestone. This is number 10, so that's really cool. So the first skill that love languages, and they've simplified it to 5 love languages, and obviously it's much more complex than just 5 love languages, because even if you both really appreciate physical touch, you can appreciate different things in that and different things at different times. So the main takeaway from our love languages skill is to remember that our default is to love people the way we like to be loved. So if you like hugs, you're going to give them a hug. Or if you love words of affirmation, that's the way you show love to other people. And the skill we're learning from that is to recognize that other people may not feel loved the way we feel loved. And this is a very common thing that happens that we have to just be aware of, because by default, we give other people what we appreciate. The second skill we learned in week 2 was that bottling is bad, and be honest. So things that you feel frustrated about, annoyed about, these are things that definitely you need to have a conversation. And the conversation is hard to have, but as soon as you notice you're bottling, you want to get it out as quickly as possible, because the side effects of bottling are pretty bad. You can start feeling distant from your partner and not know why. You can snap out at them and have like an explosive reaction in front of people, or even just in front of them, and they may not see it coming. This can show in a lot of different ways, or you might try and get back at them and indirectly attack them in a lot of different ways just to get the frustration out. So all of those ways are unhealthy. So as soon as you feel frustrated or annoyed, you want to get it out as quickly as possible. And if you're not sure how to say it, just be honest. Being honest is the best way. And then in week 3, we learn how to finesse it a bit more. So we learn about soft startups. So if you are frustrated about something and you do want to share it, starting off by yelling and I don't know, cursing at them or attacking their character and saying they're lazy, that's not the best way to do it. They're going to get naturally very defensive very quickly and not listen to what you're saying, because that's how we're all humans. That's how we react when someone attacks us. So if we start with, finding a good time to speak to them and then start with I feel and then fill in the blank, you're always allowed to feel anything you feel. You don't have to justify how you feel. So you can always say, I feel, embarrassed, anything you're feeling, angry, that's totally okay. And then the most important thing after that is say what you need to be able to make it better so they know what to do. So that was soft startups. The next skill we learned was being direct. So by default, again, humans, we've just been trained growing up to be really polite and, avoid saying things directly. And we get ourselves in so much trouble this way. And for example, in relationships, if the laundry pile, you're getting annoyed every time you see the laundry pile because you think it should be done and, it's their allocated chore, and you say the laundry pile is high. Now, you're indirectly saying, I want you to get the laundry done today. And you're saying the laundry pile is high. So you're not asking them to do anything, but you're indirectly attacking them. And so it's very common for when people speak like this, for their partner to think that they're demanding. And the person themselves doesn't think they're demanding because they're not asking the other person to do anything, but they're indirectly doing it. So there's a lot of confusion that can just naturally happen if we're not speaking directly. Another helpful thing when we do speak directly, so if we did say, I feel frustrated when I look at this laundry pile, can you please do the laundry by the end of the day? That's a question. And that gives your partner now the opportunity to say yes or no. So now they have the chance to be able to speak up for themselves and say, oh no, I actually have a huge meeting tomorrow that I've been preparing for the last month. Can I just do it after work tomorrow? And that gives you the power to be able to stand up for yourself when you need to and be able to communicate when appropriate. Or you can be like, oh, absolutely, sorry, totally slipped my mind. I'll just do it now. So speaking directly is so important. So, so important. Another one is nurturing vulnerability. So in society, we're not really encouraged to be vulnerable. And so especially men. So if someone is being vulnerable, um, you might have a natural reaction of wanting to laugh or, just tell them to toughen up or something like that. But it's really important to really nurture vulnerability when it happens, because if we treat it wrong, it's not going to happen again. They're going to shut off even more. They're going to think we're not a safe person they can open up to. There's just nurture vulnerability when you see it. And then the other one was practicing validation. So my go-to one with this one is I hear you. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it's a pretty robust one you can use just about anything. So I hear you is something that helps people feel validated as soon as they've shared something with you that you're not sure how to respond to, or it's a bit confronting. And the last skill we learned was attuning. So psychologists are really good at picking up which couples are going to last and not last based on attuning. And attuning is basically how well couples interact with each other in the smallest moments of daily life. And, do they turn towards each other or do they turn away? And we practiced a bunch of different examples last time to be able to really hone down on what this word means. So this week, our topic, drum roll, is avoiding toxicity. So, there are some toxic people out there, there's some toxic situations, and we want to be able to become aware of what they are, when they are, and to be able to not turn it into a pattern that we keep reliving, because it's quite hard to break out of patterns that we get stuck in a rut with. But hopefully, today's session will help you figure out what are examples of toxic behaviors and how we can kind of put a stop to them. So, at any point, does anyone here have any questions about anything at all, or want to share a story or anything like that? Feel free to put your hand up, and the floor is yours whenever you want it.
Hey, thanks for having me up. Um,
Thank you so much for coming.
you were talking about toxicity, and this is relationship space, and I appreciate that. I think it specifically expands into our sort of meta space here, though. And, I know how to not be toxic from the get go. Sometimes it's hard to, like, not engage in it, though, and, like, or even call it out or laugh at it or whatever. But like, how do you avoid that part of it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, step 1 is noticing it because it's quite easy for us to miss it sometimes because of maybe how much we like someone or we doubt ourselves. We're like, "Oh, we justify it, we think it's normal." So the first thing is we usually miss it, but hopefully, if you catch it, then we can kind of work with it and figure out, do we even want someone like that in our life? How do we fix it if we want them in our life? How do we take our own part in this situation to reduce the chances of something like this happening again? So, love that open question. I think it's very fitting, and we're going to dive into some direct examples to help unpack this. And you can ask any question along the way that you have to help figure this out more. Yeah, Houdini is an awesome person. I just spoke to him on Zoom earlier today,
Super
and
nice
he
chat.
has love coins. Thank you. Yeah, we spoke, and he actually has created love coins on the Hedera blockchain on HBAR, which is very cool. Very cool. He beat me to the punch, which is good on him.
Well, thankfully, it's available just to share with love. So no worries. Maybe I just helped. That's all.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, so let's jump into some real Reddit questions. So these are real people who have asked these questions. Let's start with one. So it's a 40-year-old male and a 33-year-old female. And the top line summary is, my new boyfriend wants me to stop wearing jewelry given to me by an ex turned friend. And now we can get a bit of context on this. So it says, I have a new boyfriend of 2 months. He noticed a necklace and ring I wear every day and asked who got it for me. I answered honestly and mentioned that they were Christmas presents from my ex of 3 years ago, who I now consider a friend, who I think highly of and am on good terms with, who the new boyfriend already knows about. I explained our relationship at length because we co parent my dog and he is still in my life. He helped me a lot with healing family trauma, insecurities, career, etc. And I have a lot of respect for how he's showed up for me over the years, even as friends. He's been vocally in supporting of me and my new boyfriend because he knows about my desires to get married and have a family, which is why we broke up. The new boyfriend has repeatedly mentioned he's uncomfortable with me wearing them. They are expensive pieces, the only nice jewelry I own, and I love them a lot. He offered to buy me a new necklace and ring, which is very generous and would give me more options, but still, I don't feel like it would be a replacement for them. Am I being out of line, or is this being too insecure? Should I only wear it when I'm not with him? Okay. What do we guys what do we think? Is anyone brave enough to comment on
Oh,
this?
I'll talk about that. Yeah, happily. That's a really
Go
interesting
for it.
thing. I can relate to both sides here. So hearing the end of it first, no, she values those tokens as a part of her history, and no, she needs to cherish those, and that's fine. Um, Speaking from his side, oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. But he needs to get over it. He needs to get over it, and she needs to help him get over it, probably. But that's my thought.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Did anyone else have a reaction to this situation that they are brave enough to share today? Okay, it is a tough one. It is a tough one. Okay, so Houdini is right. On both ends, um, they have valid points. So, someone can experience this and be like, oh, is this a toxic relationship or is it not? And it depends. In one way, if it's a deal breaker for either of them, um, that, for example, for the guy, if he's like, look, I need to feel like I'm being put first. And to feel like that, I need someone to be able to care about my feelings. And when I say that wearing this jewelry really hurts me, that they care that it hurts me, and they're willing to put me above their ex. And so if that's a deal breaker, that someone's not willing to do that for them, then this relationship probably isn't the right match. On the other end, if she's someone that, has this very strong connection to this person, um, it's tough. She needs to be able to make the other, like her partner, feel safe, because right now he doesn't feel safe. And that's a really important thing. And so when you enter a new relationship with someone, they become your number one priority. And, of course, if you have kids, that's always something that doesn't change, as being extremely important to you. But with your partner, this can get very messy very quickly as soon as you have exes or you have kids with other people. So if you want to be able to have a really secure relationship with the person you're with now, um, you need to be able to put them first with their feelings, and the other person needs to also make you feel safe. So it's a bit of a balancing act. Um, but yes, if this continues where she is like, I'm not willing to give up this jewelry, and he gets upset every time he sees it, he's gonna feel unloved every time he sees her wearing it, which is very problematic, and it can get very toxic very quickly. So he can, indirectly become, very bitter about this. It can frustrate him every time. He'll
But
probably feel like
that's,
he can't
yeah,
bring
but
it up.
it's not her fault.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in like, it's not her fault. It's more his fault in that case. But it's it's just the way people are, right? So that's the where the I guess the you have to bridge the gap from one side or the other or both, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely there needs to be able to figure it out where either she can explain to him that, look, this doesn't mean what you think it means, and he can honestly feel better about it, or figure out another plan. But continuing this way, it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. So the first step is acknowledging that this could turn into a toxic situation. It's on the brink of being toxic right now. So not kind of, we don't want to brush past stuff like this. Like this could, people could construe this as a very small thing. It doesn't matter. Let's move on with our life, sort of thing. But it's things like this that really build up. So when you get into a crossroads like this, you want to make sure that you're both on the same page and able to come to a really solid resolution where you guys feel comfortable to move forward. Because if you don't, this will just be one more thing that will add up to frustrations that you guys haven't addressed. So good conversation about that. Definitely needs to be addressed. It's the beginning of things not going well if we don't figure this out pretty quickly. All right. Any questions, comments, anything that comes up from that one before we move on to the next one? All right. All right. We'll move on to the next one. So this is another real life story. So this is a dating story. So these two people were in communication for 6 months. They had met each other in person once already. And for 6 months, they've just been talking back and forth. And the guy in this situation has been complimenting her quite a bit, on her looks, on the things that she's doing. She makes an effort to be able to go see him. They do live, one person lives on one side of the country, and the other one lives on the other side of the country. So that's kind of location wise where they're at. So after 6 months, they meet for the second time, and they both say that they like each other. And then the guy says that, look, I need a few months to get my sort out my life. I'm moving house to the next suburb. I need some time. And then so they go their separate ways again, and then the girl asks the guy, just clarifying what it means to take a bit of time to sort things out. And does that mean that in 2 months or so he's ready to be in an exclusive relationship? and he turns around and says, I'm emotionally unavailable. You can find someone better than me. What do we think of this situation? Does anyone want to weigh in on what they think if, a friend of theirs came to them and they're a relationship and you're the relationship expert. You're trying to give them as much wisdom as you can. What would you kind of say to this person?
Am I wrong in thinking that that guy is married or has a significant relationship currently that he's trying to get out of? Is that wrong to feel that way?
It's fair to feel that way. It's not in this situation, but it's and we don't know the whole truth, obviously. So it could be that, they are, dating some other people at the same time. Who knows? But yes, I like where your feeling was going. Absolutely. So this is a toxic situation, because for 6 months, someone has been leading someone on when they don't have the same intent of being in an exclusive relationship when one person did. So to if we were to do this again, something that we would do to kind of be on the front end of avoiding something like this, which is very difficult to do and it doesn't come to mind usually, is to if someone is showing any interest in you, to just straight up ask, are you looking for a serious relationship that's going to, exclusive relationship? It doesn't mean that you like them immediately back, but you're just clarifying their intentions from the beginning. So just avoid a lot of this stuff happening. And it's true, they could lie to you. But in a lot of situations, they would be honest with you from the beginning, which can help you decide, is it worth me spending more time or not at all? And, maybe you can even take that next step and just figure out what their blueprint is. If you're someone that wants to get married and, get engaged and married in the next 2 years, that's really relevant to communicate, because if you find someone who's like, look, like, I'm just working on my career and like, getting in a relationship's great, but I don't have a rush in the next 5-10 years. Armand, I see your hand up, go for it.
Yeah. So, I don't know if, but like, right now I'm married to you, but, if I wasn't married to you, I don't know if I would just be able to, straight up ask someone, hey, are you looking for like a serious committed relationship? It seems like, I don't know, it would be very daunting for me. Do you have like
Straightforward, yeah.
something that may be easier to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, because this is such a hard topic for anyone to bring up. So I definitely appreciate the question. So, kind of a way around this to kind of figure out is kind of asking them about the timeline of how they see their life progressing. So, um, you know, in the next like 10 years or 5 years, whatever your preferences are in what you're looking for, kind of see what they prioritize within that timeline. Like for example, in the next 5 to 10 years, are you mainly focused? Let me know what
Yeah.
your priorities
But how
are.
do you say that without sounding like a behavioral psychologist, for lack of a better phrase? I'm sorry.
No, that's fair. Honestly, it just ask your question the way it is. And the default answer is always be honest. If something's really bothering you, like it's really important to you, um, like even with my husband, he said it's a hard question to ask. He wouldn't know how it feels. But honestly, however you word it, just get it out, because you don't want to bottle something like this. So I might fumble over my words and ask it not great. But if he likes me for who I am and I have all these other qualities, and yes, I'm upfront about this because it's important to me, he will find a way to think it's worth it, or he won't. And if he doesn't, then maybe we're not the right match. So we want someone who's on the same page with us. If someone is looking to get engaged and married in the next 2 years, they're going to love my question. They're going to be like, thank goodness you brought this up, because this is something that's important to me too. Armand, go for it.
Yeah, I guess you make a good point. If someone else is like also very like kind of serious and in the same place that you are, they're going to be like, oh, finally, like someone else is like making sure they're not wasting my time. But to your previous point, I think, kind of trying to figure out where they want to be, I think that seems helpful. You know, I feel like an easy way to ask it would be like, what's the dream for you? Like, where do you like, there's just like something like that. I feel like that's like a pretty casual question, but you can like, I feel like if I could start something like that and then kind of, hone in on what they value. And, through their values, I could probably figure out, yeah, and if they're like, I don't know, I'm like, well, I don't know about you.
Yeah, I guess that's it. What's the opener? Yeah, and I guess that's it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. Anything that you can just casually get them talking about this, like blending the conversation to go in that direction, and then hone in more specifically on the parts that are important to you, is the way to go. And yeah, it's some, like, I know, for example, for some people that, wanting kids is a deal breaker. It's like, if they do or don't want kids, it might be a deal breaker. And as someone very smoothly brought it up when, they were in a restaurant and a kid ran past, and I can't remember exactly what words they used, but they used the kid running past them to be like, oh, he's so cute. I'm just making it up now, but it's like, oh, would you like, are you someone that ever wants kids? That's not the smoothest opening, but like, use the things around you, use your
Yeah. If it's
conversation.
important, like,
Yeah.
what do you feel about that thing running past you? Like, how do you feel about that? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Amazing, amazing. I love that. Exactly right. Exactly right. Use everything you can to ask what you need to ask. Yeah, the worst thing you can do is, spend 2 years of your life not asking these questions and then find out that they're not on the same page as you. And, it's very natural to get bitter and maybe hate women or hate men and say, I'm just not made for love. And it's just we didn't ask these questions early on. It was just that one little skill that we missed that got us here. So it's definitely a very valuable one to notice when things are going wrong in the wrong direction and quickly course correct with all the skills we've learned by being direct. And just anything that you're frustrated about, just honestly ask them. It's okay. Like, the person who loves you is going to answer your question. So yeah, anyone want to chime in any way, ask any question, any comments?
I'm excited for the next situation. These are fun.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Let's go to the next one. So this is a 27-year-old female and a 27-year-old male. This is back on Reddit. So my girlfriend is mad at me for not talking to her about a job interview immediately. That's the quick summary. Bit of context here is today I had a very important job interview. It was online. As soon as I finished, I went to the bedroom to find my girlfriend and tell her about it. She was in the bathroom playing a time-sensitive game of chess. I started talking about my interview and she couldn't respond, and I asked if she wanted to finish first, and she said, yeah, if I can. So I went back and decided to call my agent quickly because I needed to let him know how it went anyway. And also because I was ecstatic and wanted to share since it went really well. To be fair, the game she plays usually lasts 2 minutes. The call took me 7 minutes. I finished, went to the bedroom, and started saying that I'm sorry it took so long, but he was chatting. To which she said coldly that she is not interested anymore in what I have to say about the interview. I was shocked and asked what happened. To which she said, which she said she is hurt. I called my friend at the agency first and that I should leave. I apologized and said, yeah, maybe I could wait, but said that I feel like she is severely overreacting with the ice cold treatment, since she had only had to wait 2 minutes and I did go to her first, which when she was unavailable. Again, we both waited so long for me to get this interview. Never in the past has she not been the first person I call about everything. She completely popped my balloon. She is very hurt, and I have no idea Who is in the wrong? Thoughts. Okay, so I'm going to ask the crowd, thumbs up or thumbs down if this is a toxic relationship,
Run!
toxic situation.
Run away!
Armand, I see your hand up.
I wasn't so much putting my hand up as this just feels like I don't think this is toxic at all. This is like a super classic, misunderstanding in the heat of the moment. Hey, you're excited, they're excited, and like, oh, like I don't know. Like this seems pretty normal to me. They should just like wait 20 minutes for their heart rates to go down and work it out. Like
I'm upset.
this is like zero.
I'm upset by this situation. I'm upset by it. Jeez.
Yeah. Great. We're getting some different reactions. I appreciate that because everyone reads things differently, and experiences things differently. Jim, I see you took your speaker off.
Armand, are you married to like a clinical psychologist or what?
What did she say?
Yeah, he's like, are you married to a clinical psychologist or not?
Yeah. Well, that's the reason. I don't. So like, she was the one playing chess.
She was the one.
So this like used to
Yeah,
happen to us.
I can only imagine.
So I used to play online chess, a lot of online chess, and it's just like Kimio would want to come like share stuff with me, and like I can't focus, like I'm playing chess, and like I don't think I would have had that sort of reaction, if she was like, in this situation, but like I don't know, like
It was a bit much.
just
Even I understand, and it's an interesting perspective, especially in the modern day, where you do get engaged in a thing. You're like, yeah, I just need to finish this. I'm engaged in this, and it is important. But the reaction is like really savage. I feel scared for that reaction. That's all.
Absolutely. So I wanna open this question up to everyone here. So I'm gonna say there is a toxic part in this story, and I want you guys to tell me what part of it specifically is toxic, because a lot of the skills that we're learning today is being able to figure out what parts are the parts we need to be, being aware of when it's happening. Houdini, go for it.
Sorry, I raised my hand because I feel like I'm too engaged now. But for me, the first toxic flag was the idea that she was upset that he didn't come to her first with the interview or the promotion news. Now I understand like a little bit of hurt with that, but it seemed extra dramatic, that reaction to that. That's
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're honing in specifically, yes, it is that part. So specifically, it was her words when she said that, let me find the exact part. So she said,
she asked him to
she,
leave, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
she
That's bad.
literally, I don't know if you caught it.
I
That's what I'm
got
saying.
that. That was
Okay.
bad. I didn't know if I misheard that. But
No. So she was like, I don't want to hear about it anymore, which is like, okay, I'll just address
Like
that
what
in
the
a
fuck
moment.
moment
But
right there. What do you mean you don't want to hear
yeah,
about it?
yeah. So he was like a few minutes late, and then she said, I don't want to hear about it anymore. And then, what I'm just reading it. It waited till okay, and then asked him to leave. So that is a huge reaction. It also said they've been working really hard for him to have this interview. It was a great outcome. Like, pick your battles. Like, this is not a battle that you want to fight right now. Like, you want to celebrate this exciting thing. So if these two people were in front of me and they had this issue, and I would be like, okay, like, I understand you were upset that, he didn't come to you first and he didn't wait 2 minutes, even though he knew it was 2 minutes. But in that moment, when he's ready to share this amazing news with you, like, you got to be right there with him, excited to hear about it. And then after he's shared all the stuff that he wants to share about, the good news, you can always, don't bottle it in. Obviously, you're hurt, but you can say, look, like, in the future, it would just really mean a lot to me if, you waited that 2 minutes and didn't go to someone else just so I can feel like I'm the first person. You always do that. I always appreciate that you come to me first, because she, like, in this thing, they acknowledge that, he always goes to her first. This is the one time. So, you can always communicate what you want in the future to happen, but, don't have a crazy reaction like this, because it can really lead to some bad things happening. So we don't know what's happened in this woman's life that she reacts this way to things. Obviously, there's probably some bad experiences, or role models that she's seen that, react this way. So she thinks this is okay. But this is something that, there's a different way to communicate what you want and still appreciate, like, this great moment. Like, don't ruin the moment. So she very much ruined the moment. And there's other ways to address it for sure. So I was going to address this part a little later in the session today, but I think it's important to address right now. The reason I had Jim, go for it before I jump in.
Yeah, so I mean, I like to always look at the empathetic view here, and he probably should have realized that she probably lost playing chess to a 10-year-old or something.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. There's an empathy part here that I overlooked immediately.
I mean, there's a little sarcasm in that too, so.
But it's relevant. I feel you.
No, I appreciate that. That didn't even cross my mind, and that could have absolutely been at play right now. Could have been a huge loss to, whatever rank she had, and it just all came
Or
into
some
this moment.
computer, like some AI computer that was like V.1 that wasn't very good, and maybe she felt bad.
Yeah, absolutely. This on top of everything else, like, tipped her over the edge.
Especially if she dropped below like a 100 threshold, like she went from like 1512 to like 1496. Man, that hurts. Like,
you just feel defeated and like just not very smart, and you just feel awful.
Yeah, just everything's just down the hole. Yeah, and so I appreciate that, Jim. It's a very good point. You got to take everything into consideration. But again, if she just lost, she should have also been like, oh my God, I just lost. Like, communicate that. It's all about, like, share what you're frustrated about so other people can know what's going on and be more empathetic. Because, Jim, you're on the ball. You noticed there could have been an element of that. I completely forgot about that. For me, I personally need a verbal sign because I'm not a mind reader. Humans are not mind readers, so we definitely need to be told. And I wanted to just transition this into the research that we found in psychology. So good and bad relationships have the same amount of negative interactions, which is very contrary to just a normal belief that people have. So what makes good relationships better and last? So the difference is how many positive interactions that they have with each other. So the magic ratio that I always like to refer to is, for every negative interaction, you have 5 positive interactions. That's the healthy ratio of couples that are happily married and last together. So, for example, in this situation where she said she doesn't want to hear about it and asked him to leave, who knows when the next time they see each other? Maybe they'll see each other 3 days from now after this, if this is how it went down. And imagine 3 days of negative interactions built up over something as small as this, and think you have to do 5 times more positive interactions to just counter this one little situation that happened. It's a lot to come back from. So anything that prolongs negative interactions, I just say watch out for, because those are the things that can contribute to toxicity and just be so annoying in your relationship, and you won't know what it is, but it'll keep building up. So we definitely want our ratios to be as positive as possible. It's not a problem when you have negative interactions. As I said, both good and bad relationships have the same amount of negative interactions. The difference is the healthy relationships know how to recover from them quickly. So if she had just changed the way she reacted and still communicated what she was upset about, this problem would have just been resolved so much quicker and not had this many negative interactions associated to it. So, yes, definitely keep that in mind. You want to address things quickly, but also not let them get to a level that lasts days to recover from. That's not good. It has to be a really big deal for you guys to get to that level where you don't resolve something in a day. Any questions, any comments, any stories anyone wants to share about anything like this? This is a space for you guys, for me to give you guys as much value as possible. I'll just give the floor a moment to put their hands up or react in any way at all. All right, beautiful, beautiful. All right, at any point, if you still, if something comes to mind, just put your hand up and we can go for it. So next one. Next one is a 34-year-old female and a 28-year-old male. So my boyfriend shuts down during arguments. And the backstory on this one is I've been with my boyfriend for about 5 months now and love him a lot. He is usually incredible to me, kind and thoughtful, and just generally a really sweet person. Honestly, he treats me better than anyone I've ever been with, and he is incredible emotional, sexual, and social connection. He struggles with depression, which is fine, so do I, but he walls off when an episode hits without much explanation. He doesn't outright ignore me, he just gets noticeably distant. When I tried to talk to him about my feelings surrounding this, he got overwhelmed. In fact, most discussions we have turn into arguments because he is very easily overwhelmed. He's apparently never been in a relationship before where healthy arguments or serious discussions were normal. He knows it's a problem and wants to work on it. We both really love each other and are committed to making this work. How do I support him and validate his feelings while also getting the resolution I need? What do we think, guys? What do we think? If you had a friend who came to you with this and was like, please use all your relationship expertise, help me. I've got my husband an idea. What would you say?
I don't know. I think this is amazing because, not that they have the problem, but he said it's something he wants to get better at, which is huge.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the foundation you need to fix this. So I don't think this is a toxic relationship. I think it's a great start.
Ooh, great take, great take. What do we think, guys? Any comments, any questions?
I missed the middle part because I flaked, but now I'm curious because what Armand said. So can you repeat them?
Ooh, I can reread it. So I'll just reread the middle parts. So the first part was just the partner's super amazing. They've been together for 5 months, and that he struggles with depression, and so does she. So that's not a concern. But he walls off when an episode hits without much explanation. He doesn't outright ignore me, just gets noticeably distant. When I tried to talk to him about my feelings surrounding this, he got overwhelmed. In fact, most discussions we have turned into arguments because he's very easily overwhelmed. He's apparently never been in a relationship before where healthy arguments or serious discussions were normal. He knows it's a problem and wants to work on it. We both really love each other, blah, blah, blah. How do we work on this?
He's horribly insecure, but how do we get him out of that and get him some confidence, right? Because he's terrified to talk about this because of whatever insecurity. But how do you get him? How do you get him over the hump, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like she's tried before to have this conversation and he got overwhelmed and they weren't able to talk about it, and he freaked out because he's not used to having, serious discussions in a relationship. He doesn't, he hasn't experienced that being normal. So this is very outside of his comfort zone. Does anyone want to take a guess at what someone in this situation would do if you were giving them advice? Okay, we got a lot of listeners. Okay, so first of all, I hope you guys realize from all the skills that we've learned, this is not something we just throw under the rug because it's difficult. Just because he got overwhelmed the last time we talked about it doesn't mean that, we never talk about it again. We need to be able to get better. And he seems open to working on it, which is amazing, like Armand said. And we just need to figure out the way forward. So, the way forward as the first step is to, very softly bring up when is a good time to chat about this, because we don't know in the past when she's brought it up. Maybe he was like super hungry and super angry about something else. Like maybe he lost his, chess ranking a lot or whatever. And she caught him at that time and says, "Hey, I want to address like you being distant to me. It's really annoying. I don't want to deal with it." Like we have no idea how she's addressed this in the past. So, if I was with them, one of the first things I would do is ask her to reenact how she brought this conversation up before so I can see what was at play.
And the
When
tone,
did she do
the
it?
tone,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, tone is so important. And actually, in our relationship, this is a huge thing. And this is something I have to
Tone is
work
the
on.
thing, man. Like
Oh,
that's the thing.
yeah. Yep, absolutely. So my husband, tone is everything. And so it doesn't matter. I see MJ's coming up. Maybe it was the tone. Um, just while she's connecting. Yeah, so I have to be so careful with my tone because this is something that's really important. MJ's, did you want to speak on tone or anything
Oh,
that you
tone's
want
the
to
thing
chat
that get
about?
people excited. We got more listeners and people speaking. Oh my goodness.
I know, amazing, amazing. I don't know if MJ's wanted to speak on anything. I'll just give her the floor in case she wants to speak.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So it's really loud because it's raining outside. So that's why I've been kind of trying to find a safe space to jump on real quick. So I have about 5 minutes before I have to walk into an appointment. But I just really wanted to come up here and give a shout out to everyone who's listening and just this discussion overall. I love every time I jump on. Just to add really quick, I have been in the situation before being with someone who's not used to sharing their emotions. And I love that he's aware. I think the first part is the awareness part is that I'm glad to hear the open relationship enough that they're able to share that much. For now, I would encourage her and him to embrace kind of like the situation and practice because learning how to argue does take practice. And this is someone coming from myself included. I used to be just it could be the depression might have came from childhood trauma. It could have came from just life experiences, and he's like afraid almost to share his emotion because maybe he's afraid of a negative reaction. Whereas she's a bit older. It looks like she's like 6 years older. Maybe she has more experience in relationships, and she's bringing up the topic on this Reddit. So she probably is like, this is I need help. So I'm assuming that she knows how to share her own emotions, and she's just trying to ask for help. Whereas with him, I would suggest that there's other outlets of sharing his emotions and getting his words out if he feels something, like maybe writing a letter. This is just a suggestion, but just practice that way, so that way he can get his thoughts on paper. It's also very healing and therapeutic to just get your emotions out because maybe he's not so good at voicing what he's feeling, but just writing it down might actually bring up more stuff that he wasn't even realizing himself. And maybe she could write a letter in return, and then they could do like a type of like, you wrote your letter, I wrote my letter. Let's sit down and meet and kind of reflect on it together. And that's just a suggestion. But I apologize if it's raining. It's really loud. The car next to me is blasting some music right now. Thank you.
Thanks so much, MJs. And your voice was coming through perfectly. Thank you so much for sharing. Absolutely. I can't, what everything she was saying is absolutely right. The first step is, them both being open to work on it. So just if we tie it into our topic today with toxicity, if we left this under the rug and just avoided this is something that's going to build a lot of negative interactions in the future, really mess up with your magic ratio, And this can become toxic if you leave it and not, improve it in any way. So absolutely, we need to sit down and, at a time that, he's open to chat about this. If he's only open to chat about it for 5 minutes, you can first be like, when are you open to talking about this? What day, what time length are you open to talking about it? And then, or, do you prefer to start in, another way? Like, do you want to, share your feelings like through a voice message, or like MJ said, in writing? However, that we can start this conversation in a way that he feels comfortable. We do need to address it, so we can't not address it, but we need to progress in a way that he's most comfortable to move forward. And this is all under the assumption that he's super amazing in every other way. And this is just, their main concern right now that they want to address. If he's got all these other problems as well and he's not meeting your needs in other important ways, and that's a different conversation. So we're just assuming he's amazing. And this is just something that we're working on. So from there, you need to figure out, if we are to have a conversation, kind of what contributes to you shutting down. Like Houdini said, like, tone is so important to some people. Like, he might say, when your tone gets to this level, it just reminds me of my mom. And, I would just get shout out for hours. And it just reminds me of that. And I just don't feel safe to talk, because when I was a kid, like whenever I talked when she was shouting, I would never, nothing, it wouldn't make any difference to the conversation, and I would just get shouted at even more. So we don't know what's fueling these behaviors, but we need to really undo a lot of bad things that have happened and make them feel safe, and then take active steps to make it better, and really track them to make sure you are progressing, because progressing can build momentum, and then you guys can get better at fighting. The other thing that MJ has highlighted is that, learning how to communicate when you're upset and, having serious discussions is a skill. It's not a skill we get taught in school. And unless your parents had really great ways of having discussions, you wouldn't know how to have a good discussion naturally. So you really need to like learn these skills. To this day, we're all going to have negative interactions until the very end. We can't avoid them. We're humans. No two people are identical, so you're going to have some differences. But we need to get better at resolving these things, so then we just have more positive interactions and less negative ones, and we can recover from the negative ones more quickly. So it's definitely a skill worth learning, and it's a lifelong skill we keep building. To this day, this is something I work on, and for me, it's the tone. Yep, I'm not the best at the tone. So,
Tone, and please avoid eye rolls at all costs.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
Oh, I can't
goodness.
stand the
Oh
eye
my
rolls. Yeah.
goodness.
Yes, please, please. These are so helpful to share, because, maybe no one's ever told someone those things actually really throw, what is it?
Daggers.
Like,
Daggers right to the heart.
yes,
Daggers.
yes, yes. Well, it's like a gas, what is it? Petrol to a flame. Like, it really can rub us the wrong way. For sure, for sure. Absolutely. All of these things are super important. And we're just going to learn better and better ways to communicate and reduce, how long the length of conflict takes, because that's huge for our ratio to just be as positive as possible. I wanted to end today's session with talking about something that happened. So we're going to end on a positive note with, positive interactions. So, we've been having these sessions every week on Thursday. And last week I wasn't here because I had a work trip in California that I went to. And I came back 2 days ago after midnight. And my husband came and picked me up. And so, just so you have a bit of context, he loves these like small gestures, and I'm more like a big grand gestures sort of gal. And he's like, found a lot of difficulty just understanding why I'm the way I am. But I just so appreciated. He came and picked me up after midnight when my plane landed, and he parked the car in the standing area. He ran across and like jumped over like two cards. Like, I mean, he could have just gone around, but he like jumped over two cards, ran up to me and like kissed me and like hugged me. And that was just everything to me. It meant so much. It meant, you know, like, that was just everything. So I'm never going to forget that. I really appreciate that. Armand, are you over here?
It's about sending a message.
It's about sending a message. It was a very positive message. And then just so you know, like, we're all working on these skills, and even me, that I've learned these skills so much, I make mistakes too, and I just try and get better. So I went on this work trip. I met like some really cool people, and yeah, my husband's in doing his PhD on virtual reality and augmented reality. And I told someone about it, and they were like, "Oh wow, like I have some questions for you." And so I come back home, and for him, acts of service, so doing things for other people, is a very heavy task. It also means a lot when someone does it to him. But for me, acts of service are like, don't mean much, and I find them super easy to do. So here I come home from my trip. I'm telling him all about my trip. And I'm like, oh, there's a person that wanted to know this, if you can answer this person's question. And so he got kind of upset because he's already got so much on his plate with his PhD, and I just added more work on top of him. So that's something I need to be aware of, that it's really important to make sure how you can make your partner feel loved. And, if I go on a work trip, if I can come home with not bringing any work for him, he's going to that's what's going to feel like him running across, picking me up in the middle of the night. Like, that's the equivalent thing for him.
Like a
So
movie
that's
moment, dramatic, grand gesture for you, and that's a big stretch for him.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. And so we're constantly learning what our partners appreciate. We've been happily married for 4 years, and I just learned this in the last few days. So it's a lifelong journey that we just keep getting better at. And yeah, we just have the supportive community that we're here if you ever need us for anything. Because, you might feel silly to ask, but it's not silly at all, and it's when we ask these questions that it helps us have better relationships. So you have a community behind you, and it's awesome to have you here. I'll close out if no one has any final words. Beautiful. I appreciate you all. Have an amazing week ahead. We'll have a next workshop next week, same time, Thursday, 8 o'clock. And feel free to message me if you have any questions throughout the week that you'd like to know. All right, guys. Bye.